Greetings, Orion Council. How are you?
Hold on, please. Alright, one moment. Orion Council here. We want to share some information before we begin answering your questions. So it is. We want you to know that although acceleration is happening on your planet Earth, there are many councils that are also accelerating as far as your development is concerned, because the councils are also learning from your experience. You see, it is always a give and take in the higher realms. It is a sharing that is happening. Many of you speak of this unity consciousness, and what we want you to know is that unity consciousness is sharing, you see. And there is a give and a take, and many of you say, Orion Council, I do not understand because many take from me and I am not receiving. And you have told us that the divine female frequencies, as you call them, are about receiving. Why have I not received all that I am wanting at this time? And we want to say to you all that, you see, there is a give and a take, and you are receiving, however, it is not in the way that you assume. This is where many of you are having trouble because of the assumptions taking place. Thinking, if I do this, this is the outcome. Many of you have been conditioned for multiple lifetimes upon this planet Earth to think that this action creates this response, and you say, Orion Council, that is mathematics. When I enter in this equation, I have this result. However, we want you to know that the equations are changing because the energetics and the magnetic grid are affecting this new reality, and this new reality has a new equation. Orion Council, what is the new equation? Give it to us. Oh, Orion Council cannot give you the equation. Why not Orion Council? Because we want you to expand yourself, and when you are completing the expansion yourself, you will understand the new equation. We want you to know that all is well in creation, and we are here because we are wanting to learn from your experience. Some of you on this planet Earth are not quite aware of what is happening. Let us explain. Hold on, please. Okay, Aten here. Hello, I am Aten. I am from Orion Council. Wonderful to communicate. I want you to know that all is well and you are loved. However, besides being loved, what else are you? You would say, Orion Council, that is all that matters, is love upon this planet. And we want you to know that this love comes in many forms and many formulas and equations. And one of these equations is that when you expand your heart energy, you are also going to receive. That is the new equation. Aten will answer your question. Orion Council is a collective of beings. We are physical, yet we are non-physical. We are multidimensionals. As we have told you before, we are multidimensional energy beings. Many of you do not understand what that means. A multidimensional being is one who can travel between dimensions. Yes. Okay, Orion Council, now you are giving us something we can work with. Once you begin to travel multidimensionally, you become aware of who you are. And when you become aware of who you are, you begin to travel multidimensionally. Yes? Is that a good enough equation for you? Orion Council here, Aten speaking. Ah, it is lovely to communicate on this lovely day on this planet Earth. You would say, Aten, are you physical or non-physical at this moment? Because I can see you, but you are not physical. How is it possible? I want you to know that, although I am not quite physical in the way that you would think that I am able to become physical upon will. However, at this time, it is not necessary, for the evolution of this planet must happen before many of us become physical again on your planet Earth. And you have already said to each other, there are too many humans on this planet. We do not need any more beings, especially those from other star systems and planets. Also, many of you are wanting to know, Aten, why is that your name? Are you African? Where are you from? You see, our names are different and hold different meaning from where we are in this cosmos. Our names have a resonance. Also, your name has a resonance. As you begin to expand yourselves, your names begin to expand, and the sound frequency in your name becomes also multidimensional. Whatever, Atan, how is that even possible? Our channel is thinking. What we want you all to know is that if a sound can be multidimensional, so can a light wave, yes? If a light wave can be multidimensional, what else can be multidimensional besides the light in its smallest form? Once you begin to break down the smallest units of light, you begin to have an emanation, and it is an ebb and a flow of reality that is happening. When you focus yourself into this ebb and flow of reality from the viewpoint of a third perspective, you begin to understand the dynamics which we are working with here in our multidimensional reality. Also, we want you to know that as you begin to recognize the ebb and flow of the multidimensionality of who you are, you begin to understand how light travels between dimensions, yes? When light travels between dimensions, it takes on a new form, yes? As it takes on a new form, it begins to accumulate particles, but they are not considered light particles where we come from. Thank you. Also, what we want you to know is that as you expand the energy of the heart frequency, as we said, you begin to accumulate more particles, and you say, a 10, that is making sense to us because expanding your heart attracts more light. Is that correct? Indeed. Well done. Many of you understand the concept of expansion. It is a mathematical equation, however, it is also a concept. Do you know what that means? We want you to know that your concepts are expanding because many of you are using your own names and the sound frequency contained within your name, and you are expanding into the multidimensionality of who you are, and you are expanding the heart chakra into who you are beyond the frequency of the tiniest light particle as you travel multidimensionally, taking on a new form, and you'd say, Atan, I think I know what you are saying. We want you to know that it is not so easy to explain the concept of taking on a new form in another dimension, but many of you are beginning to understand what we are discussing here, because if you were to travel to a distant community on your planet Earth, you would perhaps speak differently and wear different clothing. And we would say, yes, you are taking on a new form. And you say, Atan, that is not correct because I am who I am. I am simply wearing something else. I'm simply taking on another layer. I'm still who I am. I did not change. The concept of who I am did not change. And we would say, yes, it did. The concept of who you are changed because your perception depends upon where you are located. And your perception will change, just as a fish in the water would change its perception of who it is if it were to fly in the sky. It would say, I am a bird, I am not a fish. And many of you would say that is incorrect because the concept of a fish has been held for so long that because of the time, it takes time to change its concept. And when you are multidimensional, do you not change the concept of time? Yes, indeed. We will leave it at that. There is much knowledge to be given to planet Earth. However, this is what we leave with you. So it is.
Thank you.
Oh, it is lovely to communicate. We are ready for your questions. Thank you.
Okay, Orion Council, question number 1. Everyone in the world deserves spiritual help, but is it wrong to refuse help to someone who you feel is a threat to you, your family, even if they are your mother or your father?
It is not incorrect to refuse help from anyone. However, we want you to know that you are also entitled to give help when it is needed. Woo, we have a lot to say about this. It is alright to say no, it is alright to say yes. So how do you choose between one or the other? We want you to know that decision making on your planet is difficult for many, including the channel herself, because she has trouble saying, well, I don't want to help you, I do want to help you. Today I don't want to, but tomorrow I will want to. And then tomorrow she does not want to, but the day afterwards she does. And she says to us, Orion Council, why is it that I am changing on a daily basis? Is there something wrong with me? And we want you to know that as your planet is expanding in its consciousness, as your planet is expanding in its concepts of who is the, let us say, one who communicates the new reality, and as your planet has expanded, many of you will understand what we are saying. We have sometimes difficulty with your language, and we think to ourselves, is it correct or was it incorrect of us? But we want you to know that your question is very important for you to, let us say, ask us, because you are wondering, am I allowed to receive during a time of struggle for many beings? Is it alright for me to expand my reality, experience other dimensions, and question others while they are asking me to become who they want me to become? Because many of you are saying, this is what I need of you, and I need you to behave in this way because it will create love in my life. And you are thinking that that is what they are asking you, but we want you to know that you are always communicating with higher self, and higher self is always with the most loving outcome, and higher self is always with the most benevolent intention, and higher self is always the one who says, despite all appearances, you know exactly what to do, and I will guide you at all times. Many of you are wondering, Orion Council, how can I connect to higher self? And we say the answer to your question is you have multiple dimensions available to you as you choose between, do I advance in this direction or this direction? What will help to answer your question for yourself is to communicate with higher self, to focus on your options. And once you have achieved that awareness that you do have options in this circumstance, you will become more clear about what higher self is wanting for you. You see, asking to become one with higher self is a great task of many. Asking to become one with higher self is learning. Asking to become one with higher self is becoming aware that it is not so simple as behave in this way so that I can experience love in my life. We feel that many of you who are communicating with other beings on your planet are sensing their multidimensionality. As you sense their multidimensionality, you are asking yourself, is it the higher self that I'm communicating of that person, or is it their third dimensional consciousness? We want you to know that when you are communicating with third dimensional consciousness, the higher self is still existing. The higher self is constantly present and is constantly guiding the third dimensional body of light. The vehicle still exists. The higher self is still present. So as you are communicating, do not separate the third dimensional consciousness from the higher self. Many of you are healers, and you would say, including the channel herself, who says, well, it is this layer and it is that layer of the entire system where we are focusing. We think it is a wonderful idea to behave in this way and focus in this way. However, we want to add on to this perspective. You can focus on one dimension of a multidimensional being in order to be of assistance to them. We feel this answers your question. And it does not have to be a focusing on the third dimensional self. It can be a focusing on a communication with the, let us say, the sending of creative thought to the being wanting your assistance. What we mean is when you decide that your higher self is asking you to go in this direction, you have the option of behaving in a most creative way that perhaps you did not contemplate or see before. And this is the value in understanding the holistic part of this multidimensional map. You have a guidance system always available to you, and you have external validation for your internal guidance systems. Therefore, when you connect to higher self, your internal guidance system will become highly active. You will say, Orion Council, I could do this or I could do that, but at the moment I do not want to choose. We feel that by not making a choice, you are considering the response of this person in question, and you will begin to receive multiple answers to your questions, and you'd say, Orion Council, I wish you would just tell me, is it right or is it wrong to do what I really want to do? And we feel that if you were to do what you really wanted to do, you would not be asking this question. Thank you. We are Elohim.
Is it okay to feel more masculine? At this point in my life, am I less spiritual if I'm not feminine enough?
One moment, thank you. Yes, when you are a male in this incarnation, you are gathering lots of knowledge, and when you are female, you are gathering lots of knowledge. Both are gathering knowledge and at the same time experiencing the difference in that content of what they are gathering. And as they are aware of the differences, they want to share what they know because they feel a pull and they want to unify. And with this sharing and unification, they experience the greatest joy. And as they approach one another, their energetic field creates a very strong bond. We feel this is mainly an energetic perspective because many of you see femininity and masculinity as polar opposites, and you'd say that in order to become complete and achieve perfection, you must balance them by the ultimate, let us say, unity between two beings. We think that if you are to become aware of one, the one is the center point between a polarity. And when you are in the polarity, you are not in the center point. And if you were to feel yourself and the very center of yourself, you would see all the lifetimes you have had as either or, and you would see the future lifetimes as either or, and you would also begin to sense that even the plant life on your earth has this either or pattern. But then you would also sense that within each plant there is a unity consciousness. You would say, oh, that makes a lot of sense because the plant life on our earth also has qualities of having both masculine and feminine. And when they are balanced, a plant can reproduce. However, it can also expand itself into other terrains, and you would also wonder how this happens, and will it happen with humans? It will not happen for a very, very long time. For now, we want you to know that as you are harmonizing with those you feel are opposites, you are having a wonderful experience, and there's always a complement to every side of the coin. There's always a pair to experience the unity, as well as the potential of experiencing the unity within one's self. Polarize yourself, but become one again. This is the continuous way. This is always what has been experienced, and it always will be experienced.
Thank you. Next question.
Thank you.
Are we ready for the next question?
We are ready for the next question.
Electrical and mechanical equipment fails, breaks down, and stops working as I touch or walk past it. Why does this happen?
1 second, please. Thank you. Some of the electronics are not quite ready for the new frequencies that many of you are carrying from multiple streams. They have achieved a level where their technology is electrically somewhat dense. When you add light into a density, it changes the density of the object, but the density also changes the light. Some of you would see this as light moving around a solid object. We see this as a dense object that is fascinating to the light, and the light simply wants to embrace the density. When you are embracing your electronics, understand that there is still a resonance as a layer in between the dense object and the light. This layer must always be present for the two polarities to experience one another. That is the third perspective we have mentioned. Between a dense object and a light frequency, there is an accumulation of static energy, and this static energy is what is causing the change in the dense object. The static electricity, you might call it, is also accumulating particles that are non-physical, and we have terms for these in many different areas of this local universe. These particles will be discovered on your planet Earth. They are affecting everything here. Thank you.
Thank you. This question is addressed to the Orion Council. It states as follows: Hello, Orion Council. I know nothing about higher science or higher beings, but I feel like I'm a starseed. I have a longing for going home. How do I know if I am a starseed?
Yes, we are Elohim. We will answer the question because we have let us say, we have a moment where we have agreed with the Orion Council that it is our way to have a moment with the answering of the questions. And we would like to answer this question. Do we have your permission to answer?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Hold on a minute. Some of us believe in the concept of having a home. Some of us agree with having the concepts of having no home, because home is where you are now. Many of us believe in a point of origin, which is a point of singularity. Many of us believe in multiple forms of one concept, and the concept of home and belonging are two different things. You belong where you are now. Home is a point of origin, but it is also seen as where you are now, because many of you would say home is where the heart is, and that is who you truly are. There are different explanations for these new reality energies, and when you have this awareness, you will see what is really home, because to us there is a wonderful home that exists all around you at all times, but you can travel in between doorways through many different light tunnels, and through these light tunnels you will see that all of your friends have a home, all of the smallest beings on your planet have a home, and you also have many homes. Through these light tunnels you have traveled, and you will continue to travel through, because it is the all-knowing self that is always expanding into new concepts. Your concept in which you ask of is the concept of, where have I traveled to through these light tunnels? Will I be going through them again? We say that you have traveled many nights, and you will continue to travel many nights to many different locations that feel like home. And when you begin to remember that you have been there before, you'd say, I have arrived. Although some of you do not believe in these sayings, and many of you feel it is simply imagination, you will also remember that you too once had a home in a very beautiful place, and all of your friends have been into this place, and all of your familiar spirits know exactly where it is, and they have pointed you to it. You will have a dream where you will go through a light tunnel, and you will say, I visited where I have been and where I've come from and where I will go again. Many of you think it is the light of the all-knowing God that is home, and you know this place very well. Many of you will go back to this place. Many of you travel there in a moment's notice, and many of you are also wondering if light tunnels will take you to other star systems. All of these possibilities exist, and it is as if you were a flying object that began to see that there is a world beyond this world. You would have a very different viewpoint of where you have been and where you are going, because the light of God exists in many different places. There you can reach with a flying object, and many of you will remember that there are homes right next to yours. It is a matter of exploration. It is a matter of the light of God, and it is a matter of traveling through light tunnels, and we will leave you with that information. We are Elohim.
One last question to you is, for our spiritual and human growth, should we eat meat? And what about fish?
We feel that you have to remember the concept of consumption is troublesome, because to consume is to live, and to live is to continue eternally, although you feel that consumption is equal to separation. If separation was not existing on your earth, would you be consuming those with 2 eyes and perhaps a mouth? Well, there is a reality where there are no beings. So, do they consume anything? There is a reality where there is nothingness. And you would say, how is it that you have a concept of emptiness and still exist? And we say that when you are not eating, many of you say, I'm empty. My stomach is empty. Remember that many of the beings that you experience here have come from the water. And many of the beings that have come from the water no longer need to be inside of it. But many of the mothers who carried the water that gave birth to you, they had to consume in order for your life to exist. And so you came out of the water and you consumed what your mother had consumed. And we say this is the process of life, is giving life, and you would say taking it. And many of you do not want to take life. Many of you prefer emptiness. We say that emptiness is polarity, and emptiness has a container for it. And we see many of you contain emptiness, but you are still existing. In order to exist, you must continue in the cycle of creating. In order to create, you must use energy. And we say, use energy because you need to create life. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you. No more questions.